mode.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Fairfield University Alumni Career Webinar Series. My name is Julie Tizzoli, class of 1985, and I'm the Manager of Employer Relations and Alumni Career Development. Our webinar today is Look Like an Extrovert, Learn Ways to Present and Network Confidently, even if you're an introvert. Today's webinar has been very well received by our alumni community, and I want to welcome you all and thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us and learn some great techniques. As always, our webinars are recorded and can be found on our website, www.fairfield.edu/alumni-career. The recording of this webinar will be posted within 1 to 3 business days. If you experience any technical difficulties, please email me or send a message through the chat box and I will try to help you. Karen has a lot of valuable information for you today. If you have questions, please type them into the question box. Karen will save a little time at the end of her presentation to answer them. The question box is located in the control bar and will show up when you click on the Go to Webinar View menu in the upper right-hand corner. I am now very excited to introduce our presenter today. Karen Graziano, class of 1993, graduated Fairfield University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Communications and English, and went on to earn her Juris Doctor degree at American University Washington College of Law. She is a proud introvert whose own deeply thoughtful, reflective mission is to help others develop their ideas in writing and quest in life. She achieves this mission through her work as a college professor and a consultant, recently launching Graziano CareerWorks, LLC, where she strives to educate and empower clients to develop and achieve their educational, academic, and professional writing and career goals. Karen shares her expertise in the classroom as an adjunct faculty member in the English department at Villanova University, a communication and English instructor at Penn State University, Brandywine, and an adjunct faculty member in Newman University's Division of Business and Information Management. In addition to teaching, Karen created the Law Advising and Leadership and Professional Development programs for Villanova University's College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, connecting students, alumni, faculty members, admission professionals, and employers. As you can see from her bio, Karen has been extremely busy since leaving Fairfield, and I feel very fortunate that she could take the time today to share how she has learned to look like an extrovert but employ her skills as an introvert to achieve success in whatever she sets out to do. So Karen, welcome, and I'm going to pass it over to you now.
Fantastic. Julie, thank you so much for the warm introduction. And everyone, again, my name is Karen Graziano, and I'm just so excited to be here today to share with you really what I have learned over the years. And I want to also just thank you all for spending the time with me today. And I know that there's people from New Hampshire and California, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maine, Florida, and it's just very exciting that you could all join us. So I'd say that the first thing that I wanted to say to you is that this is a deeply personal kind of topic for me, because in my roles that I've taken on, and the last role being director of a leadership and professional development program, it called on me to use extroverted qualities to really be successful. But really my grounding and foundation is all of my introverted qualities. And I found that in this role, and one of the things that I had done is in a short amount of time, I put together a database of alumni at Villanova in arts and sciences who would come out and talk to students and mentor them. And I had to be always, every single day, on the phone and meeting with people and really, again, being and looking like an extrovert. And one of the things that I found that was really interesting is that versus being in the classroom and teaching, it's a really different experience when you have to go out and sell ideas and build up kind of a clientele. And again, I know we have people that are from the pharma industry and financial, legal, the education industry, advertising, marketing, PR, and consulting. And so I know that you all understand what I'm talking about when I say that you have to go out and you have to sell yourself and really kind of sell ideas as well. And one of the things, because a lot of what I was doing was networking and doing a lot of presentations, and I was talking to alumni and employers and then teaching students networking skills, is that I would have frequently a conversation with someone where they would say to me, oh, well, you're so comfortable doing this. Clearly, you're an extrovert. You get so much energy from your students and from doing those events. And I would laugh, and then I would tell them that actually I'm an introvert, but that I have learned the skills to look like an extrovert. And I found that when I would tell them that, they would laugh. All of my former coworkers in my office laughed at me and told me that I was clearly wrong and that I was definitely an extrovert. And all of these different chairs that I work with, and again, alumni and professionals would laugh at me as well and just say, I think you need to go back and take that test again. And really, it was gratifying to me for them to see me as being successful. But the one thing that it taught me, too, is that when they ascribed extrovert to me, then that's what they saw as successful. They didn't perhaps have a clear understanding of the values of being an introvert. And so in my teaching, one of the things that I've done is really help students who are introverts kind of learn what those extroverted qualities are and how they can present themselves. And so that's really, again, why I said that this was really personal for me, because every single day in my job, I need to be able to show those extroverted qualities, but I'm really an introvert. So how can we do that successfully? So, and also the timing of today's presentation, I think is really important because we have so much coming up this month. I think that actually out of all the months of the year, December can be the most challenging for introverts. We have holiday parties and Christmas parties. We have a lot of different networking events. We have a lot of people calling on us for our time. And also because January is coming up as well, it is the most popular time of the year to look for a new position as well. So it's this whole idea of going out and talking to a lot of people. And for introverts, this whole idea can be exhausting, and I think that it can call on us to reflect on some of the qualities that we think are not strengths for us. And so it can cause a lot of extra anxiety, kind of thinking about all of these things. And also, I find, too, that for professionals, that they're always looking to the next year and thinking that, well, in 2015, I need to be much better. I need to be able to network easily, and I need to be able to do all of these things. And it's those expectations, I think, that can really hurt us a lot. And when we look around at our extrovert friends and spouses and coworkers who are absolutely enjoying every single moment of all of this activity, I think it again kind of says to us that, you know, how can we be successful when those are the people that, in essence, that we might be competing with, or that they're enjoying all of this and we're not exactly enjoying it. So again, this time of year, such an ideal time for us to think about these kind of ideas. And so I think for any kind of presentation and networking as well, that there's always the fears and the what if. So the what if I forget everything that I need to say in my presentation. The what if I am not going to be interesting enough. The idea and all that advice that people give you, and that one picture about imagining your audience, and really that it's so easy to just flick on a switch and that's what's going to make you really successful in, say, a presentation. When in reality, for most of us, when we're put into these more stressful situations, we can tend to feel not like the professionals we are, but maybe a little bit more like a child who feels like we just need so much more experience in doing it. We need more knowledge. And that, again, it's really being confronted with some things that we think perhaps are not our strengths. And if we think about our goals, and so this picture, this is actually a picture that I showed to a class, a public speaking class this semester. And I talked to them about their goals for the class. And I said to them, is this your goal? And they all looked at the picture, and they are a mix of introverts and extroverts in the class. And they really did say, yes, this is our goal. So I talked to them about why is this their goal. And they said, well, the presenter's enjoying himself, clearly. Everyone in the room, they're laughing, they're clapping, they're 100, everyone in that room is 100% engaged. And then I talked to them about this idea, this goal of success. And what does it mean and what does it look like? The truth is that success for a networking event or for a presentation actually looks very different if you are an introvert or if you're an extrovert. That picture that I showed you is really the extrovert kind of idea of what it means to be successful. That somebody is soaking it up, that they are 100% fully engaged. That presenter looks like he's gaining an awful lot of energy from the crowd, and that he is really, really in his element there. So the 5 important points we're going to talk about today is, number 1, knowing your temperament, because that's what being introverted or extroverted is a temperament. And then understanding the challenge that we have, maximizing actually our introverted qualities, then developing a plan and strategizing, and finally, I think one of the most important things, rewarding ourselves as well. So first, we need to know if we're an extrovert or an introvert, or perhaps if we're somewhere in between, if there's really a balance. And really, it's all about energy. So a lot of times people will say to me, and this is a lot of professionals will say this, they'll say, well, the Myers-Briggs, and they'll refer to that, and they'll talk about where they are with that. And I always bring them back to energy. And especially when people will say to me, well, you're really an extrovert. And I'll say, no, actually, I gain all my energy from recharging, from ideas that I have, from brainstorming, from recharging. And I absolutely will feel overwhelmed in certain types of situations. And that if I had a group of 200 people at events, and I have to go up and I have to give the welcome, and people are responding to it, or the class of, say, 20 students, and I have a really great response, I actually get no energy from that response. Whereas my close friends who are extroverts, they are just thrilled in those situations. They can't get enough of it. They don't want to get off the stage. They are recharged by others. Some people have called this really that extroverts are more like a solar panel, that they're absorbing it all and they actually get more out of it. And that introverts are more like a rechargeable battery. And I have to say that I think that that's a really great way to think about these 2 different ways, these 2 different temperaments. And introverts are more likely to, and here's just a list to think about, to seek out quiet, to need to be asked for their opinion, to reflect and act carefully. They're much more likely to be the people who will say, let me think about that before responding. And that they will be very absorbed in ideas. They'll think through something in a meeting, say, before actually offering their ideas. And that their energy is absolutely tied to that inner core for them. Now, it's really interesting to think about energy creation. And a lot of times, too, about this idea of being an introvert versus being shy. And I think that, again, this is something that I hear people refer to a lot, and they'll call someone who's introverted shy, and they're actually two very different things. Someone who is shy really has more of an anxiety, and it's not an issue of energy, it's more of an issue of confidence. Somebody who's introverted, it doesn't have to do with confidence, because we're at our best when we're having one-on-one conversations. We're at our best when we're talking about something that's really passionate, that we believe in. And being introverted is really who we are. It's our identity, it's our temperament. Being shy is about anxiety, and it's about a lack of confidence. So again, it's two very different things. So next, what we want to do is take a poll of everyone here and to find out what your temperament is.
Okay, everybody, you should see on your screen now a poll. So do you identify yourself more as an introvert, an extrovert, or are you unsure? Do you demonstrate qualities of both equally? So everybody take a moment and just click on your answer. We appreciate your participation. Great. Thank you. I'm going to close it down now and share the results. There we go. So, Karen, you can't see this. There's 55% of the audience are introverts, 2% are extroverts, and the rest, 43%, are unsure. They demonstrate qualities in both.
Okay, that is fascinating, really interesting. I'm so excited to get those results as well. I think probably a lot of the people, I think you said 43% or so are the kind of in between. A lot of those, I'd say, people are a lot like me. You know, somebody who has been able to really identify what their introverted qualities are and their extroverted qualities and kind of balance them out and show both as well. So for our maybe one person out there who's an extrovert, one of the things is that learning the qualities of introverts I know can help you tremendously as well. So I wanted to show you how fantastic it is to be an introvert, because I mean, you can Google and see there are so many famous people who are introverts. It's absolutely fantastic, you know, to look at it. So I just picked a few out of, say, some of our favorites out there. You know, people who we would see every day on the news, who have entertained us. And really, again, what's the big difference for these people? I can tell you that they are not going to be the people who every single night are going to be going out and entertaining themselves. You know, they are going to find a lot of time in their lives for reflection in order to do the kind of creative work that they do, the writing, the broadcasting that they do, because they give so much in their professions. So the next thing we need to really look at is this challenge, right? And it's this extrovert ideal that is out there. And it's this idea that extroverts, and we all know them, who we feel that they are just so charming, that they have all of this energy, they have these magnetic kind of personalities. And really, when we think about ourselves, say as introverts, how can we compete with something like that? I mean, it's so easy for them. And remember, too, they gain all of this energy from us as well. And so really, again, like, how can we compete with that? So some of the steps first is recognizing what it means to be an introvert, why society values extroverts, so that we get to really understand what are those qualities of extroverts that we can, when we need to, kind of assume, and then also why being an extrovert is actually to your advantage, even though it might not always feel that way. So first, what it means to be an introvert. What it means is that you're reflective, you're thoughtful, and you're purposeful. I mean, what three amazing qualities to possess. That you are absolutely absorbed in details and that you find passion in ideas, values, dreams, and that this is probably a big reason, if you think about the career path that you've taken or the things that you enjoy the most about your job, that it might be some of the quantitative kind of details of working in finance, or in the advertising and marketing area, really about thinking about the values, the brands of the different organization, and being able to thoughtfully and purposefully put that out there into the marketplace as well. So our challenge is that we don't always feel that we know enough about a subject until we know almost everything. And there's some beauty to this, is that we recognize that subjects are vast and that there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of angles out there. My background is law, and so when I'm teaching students in a legal writing class, I will often refer to the pie, and the pie being all the different slivers of the ways of thinking about law and different topics, and how for them they need to be able to think from many, many different perspectives. So it's certainly this idea of vastness of a subject and wanting to know it well helps us tremendously in our work. We all love to over-prepare, and this really helps us, especially in presentations. And one of say the negatives is that our extroverted friends will go out all the time, and they might not know as much about a topic. They know a little bit, but they talk about it. And so they're constantly getting feedback and gaining more perspective than we might be gaining. So recognizing why our society values extroverted qualities, really, all you need to do is look at all those advertising messages that we receive. And I was thinking about just Nike's Just Do It idea and the history of our country as well. That is all about this self-determination and about competing, about this drive, about getting out there and really telling people what you think and what your ideas are and going for it. And what's not valued, it certainly is valued in other cultures, but this idea of solitude and reflection. So if I was going to tell someone that I'm going to spend my Saturday just reflecting and thinking about things, I think they would probably look at me and say, wow, it's really nice you have time to do that. They would not be thinking that that's a really wonderful and healthy thing to do, and how that's going to help me be successful. Certainly not. When we think about it, it's changing a little bit as people are really understanding how meditation can be helpful, but it is definitely not our ideal. Our ideal is action. It's getting out there. It's being assertive and strong. And there's a famous book called The Pursuit of Happiness by Dr. David Myers. And actually, what he says in the book is that happiness is defined by three things: self-esteem, optimism, and extroversion. His idea and his research is that you can't be as happy if you are an introvert. And again, this is just a really interesting idea written by an extrovert, and really with extroverts kind of being the center of the universe, kind of the core there. And it just leads us to think about definitions of happiness. So I wanted to show you how happiness differs. The idea of success differs if you're an extrovert or an introvert. It's fascinating for us to think about this. And for an extrovert, they want to be the person that everybody loves to be around. They want to be known as being fun to be with. They like being with others all the time. Introverts, it's really important for us to know ourselves well and to be very in tune with who we are, how we're feeling, and that we're this idea of pursuing our own ideas, our own path as well. again, really different. I mean, the way that we look at happiness, the way we defined it, what success means for us as well. And as introverts, we are absolutely outnumbered. We're outnumbered 3-to-1. So when we think about this extrovert ideal, it's no wonder that it's an ideal, because it's extroverts who have defined it, because they overwhelm us. And introversion has also been seen as an issue, a social issue, a behavioral issue that we haven't been appropriately socialized, and that we need to shape up, and we need to be an extrovert. We don't need to be extroverts. We're never going to be extroverts. And really, this idea is that we can learn some extrovert qualities, and we can demonstrate those, but we can also be our introverted self, and we can use our top strengths and qualities to be that much more successful. So how do we use our introverted nature? I mean, the first thing is to relax and just realize that we can be ourselves. We don't have to try to be someone else that we're not. And this kind of key to this, I think, is really thinking about this idea. And this is something that Susan Cain, she authored the book Quiet, absolutely amazing book on this topic, really goes into all of the research, that introverts are capable of acting like extroverts for the sake of work that they consider important, or for anything that they value highly. And if we think about one of our most famous introverts, it's actually Gandhi, and this famous quote, "In a gentle way that you can shake the world." So we need to, as introverts, really define this for ourselves. How can we do this? We can do this if we know what our top qualities are. We know how to really understand stimuli and have some control over it, and that if we really understand depth and how much and how important depth of something is for us. So qualities, one of my favorite books is The Strengths Finder by Marcus Buckingham, and this is a list of strengths. For me, I know my strengths. I know that I'm a developer, I know I'm an achiever, and I know that individualization is absolutely of utmost importance to me. So because I know what these qualities are, I'm able to really tie them into anything that I'm doing. So again, this is that part of being an introvert that is so wonderful, that we associate ourselves so much with this rich type of inner life that we have, and then we need to find the ways to really bring that forward. Stimuli and understanding this, I think, is one of the most important things, because a lot of times introverts can look like they aren't as sociable, but we're social in a different way. We really need meaningful connection. We want to have conversations that are not just chit-chat. We want to actually say something of significance. That's the kind of people that we are and the kind of interactions that we want to have. So then that means that we need to find some strategies when we do need to have chit-chat, say. And so if we can find those strategies, that again is the opportunity to learn, how to look like an extrovert. And those are actually some of these things, and these are things that I've been doing, especially in that role as director for a lot of years, and that's how I was able to look like that extrovert. And it allowed me to create the relationships that were meaningful and significant, but there was that initial period of the chit-chat, that I'm not as comfortable kind of partaking in. And then depth. We love depth. We want to delve into something deeply. We don't want to be rushed. We prefer, again, that one-on-one kind of conversation. We love to observe what's going on. And so if we can just recognize all of these different preferences that we have and then incorporate them into our networking and our presentations, again, we're going to be so much more successful with what we're doing. So maximizing our introverted qualities is our thinking qualities, it's about being purposeful, and it's about reflecting. So I picked this picture, one of my favorites actually, the thinker, because that's who introverts are. We're thinkers, we're planners, we love to prepare, we love to dig in. And if we use these qualities in networking and in presenting, then again, it's going to feel that much more natural for us. So for networking type of events, we have to really be thinking about whom is it that we're going to be meeting? What exactly will we say to them? We can plan it out beforehand. With events that I would have 200 people at some of my events, somewhere about 150 people. I'd have up to 50 alumni coming to the event. I would plan out different conversations that I was going to have with them. I really would. Sometimes it was the benefit of being someone who loves NPR and who would be listening to the financial news or reading the Chronicle of Higher Education to see, again, what's going on in my industry and education, or commenting to someone in the advertising and marketing area about some different advertisements that I had seen recently, or reading something about the pharmaceutical industry, or relating my experience of being a consultant. But I would be thoughtful, and I would think about everyone who was coming to the event, and I would also be thinking about connecting. I'd be thinking about which students I was going to connect with, which alumni, which faculty members I was going to be connecting with whom as well. I would know who would be coming first. You know, some people would tell me that they're going to be on campus a couple of hours early, you know, so I would already have in my mind a timeline for how things were going to work. And this, again, this is really important for introverts because we need to be able to exert some control over the environment as well. And in a networking type of environment, there's so much activity going on that is really not our comfort zone. So if we think more about the relational aspects and the one-on-one, that's where we are most comfortable. And so if we find those and look for those kind of meetings, because really a networking event really can be a series of one-on-one conversations, then we're going to be so much more comfortable and successful. For presentations, I tell my public speaking classes this, they laugh, of course, but that presentations, I think, can be built for introverts because it's all about the research. It's all about planning it out and preparing, and that's the dig-in part, and that's the part that we love. So you can plan out everything that you're going to say so that you don't have to think on your feet. A lot of networking events, I think that most people feel like they need to think on their feet so much, and that's what makes us really uncomfortable about the whole experience. But we really don't have to do that. So if we think about being purposeful and, again, thinking about what do we want to get out of every single interaction and what are our goals, again, this is our rich internal life, as I say, about that we would be thinking about all of these interactions, that we would want to be purposeful, that, again, our extroverted colleagues and friends, they're really not. I was talking to my students earlier this week about this topic, and one of my students said to me, and he is an extrovert through and through, and he said he just loves going to the events and thinking on his feet. At every single person that he meets, he likes hearing something interesting from every single one of them. So again, I think that the way that we go about this is very different than our extroverted colleagues and friends. This part, and really this picture too, I really think of myself because I think about all the different, I know every cafe in the probably 20 miles from where I live because I frequently will stop in to Starbucks, to Zaxby's, anywhere. I will, before giving presentations in classes, I will absolutely find the space, even if my time is short, even if it's 5 minutes, to recoup energy. So we have to actually plan to reflect. And this is really different than our extroverted colleagues and friends. They don't need to do this at all. But we need to build up our energy. We need to conserve it. We need to recoup it. I would plan out when I have very large networking events that I was hosting, I would plan my day. I would actually not meet with any students. I would not meet with any faculty. I actually tried to plan it where I wasn't even teaching classes those days so that I would be totally focused and absorbed on writing, on reviewing students' writing and editing the writing, and on preparing for the event itself. I would write up all my thank you cards. I would purposely plan those items that day because I wasn't then giving all of my energy out in all of these different meetings and things that I was having. I was really saving it, conserving it for the event itself. And this kind of idea, again, I love that quote about changing the world. The Gandhi quote is so interesting and important. I challenge my students to think about this idea that Marcus Buckingham has in the Strengths Finder about what do you do better than 10,000 other people, and to actually really think about it. You know, what do you do really well? And to have that, again, as part of the passion that you're bringing to anything that you're doing. And this other quote I found, too, has been something that really has guided me, that people will never forget how you made them feel. I had a presentation that I will tell you that was in my top 3 professional experiences. I presented to the president of Villanova and to 45 of what they call his top leaders, their alumni leaders. And I was very honored to give this presentation. I was slotted as the 5th presentation of 5. It was right before lunch, and it was right before they were leaving, and they had been on campus for several days. And I did not know anyone who was in the audience as well. And I was able to get up and really give, I think, probably my best presentation that I probably have ever given just because of the passion that I felt for the topic. I was talking about professional development and the importance of it. And my audience, these wonderful professionals, gave me feedback and said that what I was saying to them made them feel a particular way. And I just have to tell you that I thank them so much for giving me that kind of feedback, because I just felt so strongly and passionately about my topic. The other 4 presentations before me were fine. They were great, really great presentations. But the alumni then said to me, I could tell that you're so committed to your ideas. Those are not extroverted qualities I'm talking about there. It was really the introverted qualities. It was really about feeling very connected to what I was talking about. And so now we're going to take one other poll.
Okay. There we go. When you attend networking events and other functions, do you have a positive plan for how to manage the event? So go ahead and choose your answer there for a few minutes. 2 seconds, actually. Okay, get your last votes in. Thank you, everybody. Okay, let's share this. So, Karen, 33% of the audience does have a positive plan, and 67, I know, it's pretty good, 67% do not.
Okay. So this is great because I want to share with you some of the things and ways to think about this. So everybody who already has kind of a positive plan, there might be a few additional things to take away from this. Everyone else, I will tell you, this is what I have done to look like an extrovert and to really be successful. And this is what I've been teaching students and professionals. So first of all, it's the 3 Ps. It's the pacing, priorities, and parameters. So the pacing is really about the energy that I was talking about earlier, about conserving, recouping, restoring. again, if you have 5 minutes, if you have an hour, if you whatever it is, in order to really think about your day and how you can save that energy for that event, that is so important. So not overscheduling yourself is going to be really a necessity, I'd say, for us. And then priorities. Why exactly do you want to go to the event? Why is the presentation so important for you? Why, again, is that job interview so important? Or doing those informational interviews that you want to do? Why is it important for you to step out of your comfort zone and move forward? Not everything is a priority. And so we can make decisions and we can say we're not going to go to a particular event or do something. But the important part of that is to know why and to not have it be about our introverted or extroverted nature or not. But to have it actually be about our priorities and parameters. We don't have to be the first person to arrive and the first person, or the last person to leave as well. We can set parameters for ourselves. We can take breaks. And so let me give you a list of strategies here. So I'd say number 1 is sharing your passion. Really deciding, again, what is it that you're all about? Why are you going to this event? Is it an event for charity that you feel really strongly about? Is it a holiday event and really maybe there's 2 people at that event that you really want to talk to and that you really want to share a story with? And then preparing ideas to discuss, because we do this so well. So thinking beforehand about the things you want to talk about. I always like to arrive early, and I've always done this for presentations. I like to do this for any kind of event that, if possible, because arriving early, what it means is that you're able to get really comfortable in the space. So being comfortable, I mean, really where you're going to stand, where you're going to sit, where you're going to be is really important for us. And also, when you're arriving early, the host is getting things together and doing what they're doing. And you can help them if you want. You're going to have other people arriving early. There's no pressure on people to arrive early. When you walk into this beehive of activity, that's where I think when things are already going, the party has started, things are already, the networking event has started, that's where I think that it doesn't feel as comfortable when you're an introvert to walk into those situations. Being goal-oriented, maybe you're going to say that you want to talk to one person and have a really great conversation with them. As an introvert, your goal is not to walk out, say, a networking event with 50 business cards. It's to have one solid, authentic conversation with someone. And as I said, not being overscheduled. I think number 7, taking interest in other stories. I'm fascinated by other people's stories. So that right there, that's our genuine, authentic self coming through. Taking a break and leaving when you're ready, you can do. And this is where I think as an introvert, we reflect so much that we reflect and think, well, why did I have to do that? Why do I feel like I need to leave early? You can leave early. So again, just make your parameters before you go, and think about the different breaks, and think about openers. How do you know the host? This food is delicious. I mean, easy chit-chat kind of conversation, which again, as an introvert, I don't feel as comfortable having, but I have my go-to openers. The sustainers are really, let's say if there's beautiful photographs that somebody has taken that are up on the walls of their home, asking someone if they like to travel as well. Directing something back to something someone said earlier is taking a real interest in them. And leaving the conversation when you don't have anything else left to say is totally fine. You can just say you really enjoyed talking to them. You need to refresh your drink. You need to make a phone call. All of those things are absolutely fine. When we talk about confidence, an introvert confidence is based on our interior life, not our exterior. For extroverts, it's all about jumping from conversation to conversation and getting that energy. For us, for introverts, it's all about feeling comfortable and confident in ourselves and what we're saying about ourselves and how we're discussing ideas. So in terms of presentation, all of the things, really, I've mentioned them already about digging in, about personalizing information. I'll get to presentations early. I love that because I will meet every person in the room one-on-one, and I'll ask them questions. I will 100% include every single thing that they told me in my presentation. So this is my opportunity to engage the audience, to show that I was attentive, to, again, be that kind of really individual and be genuine as well. And I will make sure that I thank them as well, thanking them for their attention, thanking them for their ideas, but really personalizing the information. For me, I have to have an emotional connection to everything that I'm teaching and talking about. So I will create that for myself. When I talk about professional development work that I've done, I don't just think of it as my job. I call myself an advocate. And so I think labeling and thinking that way is really important. When I did academic advising for students, my students would call me their mentor, rather than their advisor. So again, that emotional kind of connection is really important. And kind of some last kind of thoughts here to leave you with is that we really need to reward ourselves instead of critiquing ourselves. And so some rewards, which frankly could get quite expensive, but some of the very first, very large events I did, I remember after one of them, I was really happy with how it went, and I went out and bought myself a beautiful scarf because I love scarves. And it was kind of, again, that indicator for me that that scarf kind of represented a really successful event. And so we can build in these rewards for ourselves. It could be having an absolutely delicious, cup of latte, going to that coffee shop, recharging. That is my puppy, Greta, who's adorable. It could be just taking a beautiful, recharging kind of walk with her as well. So just finding some ways to reward ourselves that are in tune with our introverted nature. There's an introvert creed that I wanted to just share with you, and this is something that Marty Laney, she wrote a fantastic book that I've definitely relied on in this presentation called The Introvert Advantage. And one of the things I love the most is this idea of reveling in solitude. When do we actually put reveling in solitude, that idea of reveling with solitude? We don't. So I think, again, a lot of this is about how we treat ourselves, how we understand ourselves. We're not trying to be extroverts. It's just that we need to understand how to work in this extroverted world that we're in. So here are some ways to keep in touch, and I would love to keep in touch with you all. I'm looking forward to your questions. I have an extensive reading list, way too much to list on the screen. So if you'd like to email me, I can send that to you as well. I'm on Twitter. Twitter has been a fantastic way for me to chat as an introvert as well, to be involved in chats and to talk about things that are really meaningful. I'm on LinkedIn, love to connect with you there, and I'm going to be starting my blog next month. So thank you so much for listening, and I really look forward to your questions.
Karen, thank you so much. That was fantastic. I learned, it was great. I learned a great deal. I know our listeners did too. So I do have a couple questions, so let's get these in.
Great.
All right, so much chit-chat is around spouses and children. Yep. I have neither. How do I respond to these questions without sounding defensive?
Right. Okay, that's a great question. So I'm married, but I don't have children, and so a lot of times someone will come up to me and they will say, oh, so do you have children? And I mean, honestly, can sometimes be the very first question that they're asking me. And I'll say to them, no, I don't, but do you? And then they'll say, oh, I have, 2 children, and then what I will do is I'll ask them questions. I'll be interested in what is going on in their lives and learning about it. And from that, I always find that there's some kind of a connector. First of all, if somebody, let's say, is in high school, and I work at colleges. So there's that kind of connection. Or I'll go back to my own experiences that I loved. I loved sports, or something else. I'll ask them about, like, oh, what are they really interested in? And I think because I love, like I mentioned earlier, I love NPR. NPR, gives me, I tune in and I hear all these great stories. So what I'll tend to do is I will focus in on them. And really, I think if somebody is asking that question, it's just showing that they're really comfortable talking about a spouse or really comfortable talking about kids. And so one thing is that I say we don't want to think about it as a reflection negatively on us. It's not. It's really just showing us what they want to talk about.
Oh, that's a great answer. Thank you. Okay, so I do want to tell one of our listeners who joined late that this whole presentation, in fact, some of the other people too, this whole presentation is being recorded, so it will be on our website at fairfield.edu/alumni career within the next couple of days. So if you feel like you missed something, you can go back and watch it again and catch up. And I know one of our listeners is asking for a couple of the slides. So the Introvert's Creed slide, I don't know if you could put that up again, slide 45. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Oh, the Introvert's Creed, sure.
All right, great. Okay, so in your experience, when students or professionals are first trying to apply these ideas, what do you recommend as the initial step for them?
I would say, because we're so reflective, that the very first thing to do is to actually look at our strengths. Because I think that what introverts tend to do, and I like I said, I saw this in the response from employers and alumni when I would say to them, oh, I'm actually not an extrovert, I'm an introvert. And I saw the look on their face, and they were a little confused, and they'd be like, no, you're not, as if it's a bad thing. And so I think that what we need to do is recognize that we're surrounded by extroverts. So there is this ideal that exists. But really what is the most grounding for an introvert is to know who you are. And to know who you are means to know your strengths. And so I rely every day on knowing my strengths. And that, I'd say, is the number one thing, the number one most important thing that I've been teaching for 15 years, that I have taught every student that I've taught, is to know their strengths. And one of my law professors taught me to lead with your strengths. So if you know what your strengths are, then it's going to ground you. And then from there, it's really about having a plan. And I think that, again, I think it was 67% or so said that they go into different events without a plan. You're going to find that your outlook on these different events is going to change dramatically when you recognize your top qualities and you're seeing them in play. Because when you have a plan and you say to yourself, I want to go to this event and I want to connect to one person, it's manageable, it's doable. You're not trying to be an extrovert then. You are just being yourself, and walking away from one event, having this really fantastic conversation and a connection is much more meaningful to you than meeting and having that chit-chat with 40 people in the room. That's not important to an introvert. So being really true to yourself, the first step is absolutely knowing your strengths, because I think that that's core, and so that we don't think about ourselves in a negative way, which is not helpful whatsoever.
That's right. And I don't know if you can expand on that a little bit more. For the almost half of the listeners, and I think myself included, that feel that they are both. Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's a little conflicting. Can you kind of help us a little bit? I think you're touching on it with knowing ourselves, finding our
Absolutely.
strengths.
Yeah, I think that one of the things for everyone who says that they're both, because I've actually had people say to me, "Oh, you're probably both, and you're that ambivert," and I actually look at them and I say, "I'm really not." I think that really then it's a little bit more about planning, so that because if you are that person that can gain energy in some circumstances, but in other circumstances you can't, you just need to know what those circumstances are. Because I, on the other hand, can guarantee that 100% of the time I'm not gaining any energy from anyone. So I need to really plan out when there are these big presentations and events and things that I'm doing, or even just before my classes, that I like to plan a certain amount of time, and honestly, sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 10 minutes, to just get a little bit centered. So I think that somebody who is that ambivert, you have to know what those situations are, where you gain energy and where you don't, because it's really about really being able to, for me, I know 100% of the time what I need to do. But I would say for an ambivert, you don't. So that's where you have to almost log in and say, well, in these situations, I am gaining some energy from these people. Why? And in these, I'm not. So that you have to know when you have to pause and reflect. So I think it's actually really, I think it's really interesting if you're in that situation where sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, and then you really have to be attentive so that you always have the right plan in place. You always have the right amount of energy to kind of get you through it, and then you also can recoup.
Excellent. Thank you. Um, okay. Oh, somebody just sent another question, and we have time for one more, so let me grab this one.
You're great.
How do you achieve that pause and reflect while you're in conversation with an extrovert?
Oh, yes, absolutely, because extroverts are right there and they have all of this energy that is going on. And so I'll tell you that my kind of pause moment for that is that I listen attentively to every word that they're saying. And that really, for me, thinking about the words that they're saying, kind of their story, the meaning behind it, allows me to be the introvert with an extrovert and to have it be a really successful type of conversation. So that, again, I'm listening to every word that they're saying. Now, extroverts aren't as attentive to every single word that they're saying. So they're not, I mean, the questions that I'm going to have for them are going to be really thoughtful. And so that's where a lot of times they'll say, I never thought about it like that. Or they'll say, oh, yeah, you're pointing something out, like really important. And again, that it's very typical for them to say, I've never thought about that before. And again, that's what introverts do really well. So having that extrovert, and extroverts love to share long stories, or interesting stories or funny stories. It's great. So they give me a lot of material to think about. And that's where, when they're doing that, I'm thoughtful, and then I can react to them. And so it allows me to still be my introverted self, and for them to be the extroverted self, and I leave them feeling good about the interaction.
That was great. Fantastic webinar, Karen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time and presenting this to everybody. And you're definitely passionate about it. I love it. So I hope everyone enjoyed the webinar today, and I wanted to let you know when you sign off you will get a survey, so everybody please fill that out and help us make things better and give us some ideas for additional topics. I want to let everybody know that our next webinar is actually next Tuesday on the 16th of December from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and that webinar is presented by Cachet Prescott, who is also an alum master's program class of '04, and she is talking about your career reinvented, writing the next chapter in your career success story. So please join us next Tuesday as well. And Karen, thank you again, and everybody sees her contact information on the screen, so please be in touch with all of us, and have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season, everybody, and you too, Karen, okay?
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Really, really enjoyed being able to share my experience, and I hope you keep in touch.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.